Okay, so have you ever started your year off full of enthusiasm and ideas for what you're going to do to improve your practice, whether it's, you're going to up your marketing game or you're going to, improve your client service. You've got, you're full of all these big ideas. Maybe you have meetings with your team. We have some pretty elaborate plans for what you're going to do and everybody's responsibilities. But then the planning stage ends, you get back into the day-to-day of your business, and the kind of realities hit you, the grind comes back upon you, and all of a sudden you close your eyes, you blink, and maybe months have passed, and all those plans that you're so excited about have kind of fallen to the wayside. Does that sound familiar? Go ahead and let us know. Let us know in chat, wherever you're watching, on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Can I get a yep? I've been there. Well, in today's session, the second of the Building a Better Advisory business series, we're going to be talking about why this loss of focus and loss of motivation is such a professional hazard for financial advisors in particular. And also we're going to be talking about some of the ways you can plan around this so that you can stay on task, and you and your team, just as importantly, your team as well, can stay on task, and so that you can, finally start to accomplish some of these goals that you set at the beginning of the year. But just a few quick housekeeping items before we launch into it here. This is, as I mentioned, the second part of the Building a Better Advisory business series. If you want to find out the dates and topics for the rest of the series, you can go to horsesmouth.com/series. And you see the dates and times, topics, and you can also add those to your calendar. So you can go there. If you missed session 1 of the series on building a better foundation for your business to set yourself up for future growth, you can actually watch the replay of that at horsesmouth.com/betterbiz, B-I-Z, horsesmouth.com/betterbiz. But with the housekeeping out of the way, I will now hand things over to Horse's Mouth Editor-in-Chief Sean Bailey and Deborah Taylor, Principal and Founder of the Taylor Financial Group. Sean?
Thanks, Doug. And I'll tag on to a little bit of your opening comments there. I don't think it's, for me, maybe others too, it's not always necessarily a lack of focus or motivation, but I do know, for instance, I blinked this week and, suddenly it was June 1st. And, half the year has gone by. I know I can look back and, have really accomplished quite a lot in this 6 months, but nonetheless, things that we want to achieve, things we want to improve on, new projects we want to get going on. I know lots of advisors have these things. Even when you're doing everything right, boom, it just like flies by. So I did have to say that, it's not always a lack of focus or motivation, but those still can be issues. And so I'm glad Debbie's here, and we're going to really look at what the keys are to lasting motivation, because, again, with so many in this business, you're solo entrepreneur. So you have to be self-motivated, and people you hire may or may not have that entrepreneurial gene, but you've hired them for good reason, though you yourself may need to help motivate them and as well as yourself, right? So Debbie, thanks for being on. And we are doing this as a lead up to your new normal practice management workshop, 4-day virtual workshop you're going to be offering here on Horse's Mouth, July 19th to the 22nd. And as we do our live streams, and by the way, if you're watching, it's interesting to note that you could be watching on LinkedIn, you could be watching on Facebook, you could be watching right now on YouTube. That's right, Doug, correct? Yes, Doug says yes.
Yep, yes, that is correct. Yep.
We're simultaneously broadcasting to multiple platforms. it's kind of a different approach than inviting everybody to come to your webinar platform. And it's something that we are encouraging people to do more of. But anyway, Debbie, so this issue of, why do you think so many advisors and their teams do struggle to execute on, projects and initiatives that, maybe there's even total buy-in, everybody shakes their head and agrees that it's an issue that needs to be improved upon? What are your thoughts on, what's holding them back? And for those listening out there, please share your comments as well as we go along, and we'll turn to them. But Debbie, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of times folks could start with a ton of enthusiasm, like Doug was mentioning, great intentions, lots of buy-in. I think the follow through and the execution is where you see a lot of issues. And so one of the expressions I use at the office is what gets measured gets done. And so when we have an idea, we then document it, right? There's accountability. And so it's transparent. Everybody knows what's expected. There are steps involved. There are dates involved. There's a checklist that's created. And that way we sort of can, trudge through the wilderness and get through to where we need to get through. So that's my initial thought on it.
Yeah. But I want you to think back to when you started in the business, when you left the CPA practice and decided to develop a financial advisory firm. You were starting out. A lot of our people are solo entrepreneurs. I want you to put yourself into your shoes of 20 years ago, and what were, as you look back, what were some of the things that you ultimately recognized were holding you back from getting more done than was actually happening?
Okay, so I think some of the things that hold us back is not taking control of our day or our week, right? Almost falling victim to what happens to you. And so whether you're a solo practitioner or running a larger firm, you basically got to take control of your calendar. Is part of what I would say, and do time blocking. And you see that a lot of doctors who are super busy, you see that they are consummate time blockers, right? I do surgeries on Monday and Thursday from 9 to 11 a.m., right? I take appointments at this time. I do my initial consultations at this other time, right? If you really talk to them, they've received a lot of very good coaching. They do great time blocking. And so one of the things I would say, I apologize if you hear our dog in the background, working from home today, is that you need to time block. You need to set the time aside to take care of business, whatever that business may be. And if part of taking care of business is these projects or these initiatives, then you also need to take time set aside to address those things, whether it's weekly, monthly, daily, whatever is required.
Yeah, and I think Teresa Rico Buono, who's actually in the middle of doing a time management program for us and other advisors right now, talks about the challenge of people blocking out time to do things, but then there is this alternate challenge of emergencies from clients, or we should say emergencies, right? Because they don't all come at the same level. But there is a desire of advisors to always want to appear to be proactive and responsive to their clients. So how have you dealt with interruptions over the years when you are trying to block out time to do some big project, but there's other people in your firm, you've got new clients, there's always issues, so how have you deflected interference? Or maybe you haven't. Maybe that's just like something. It's like, I mean, Teresa talks about it in terms of both figuring out an effective way to respond, but then more importantly, figuring out an efficient way to get back to what it was you were doing, as opposed to allowing the interruption to just blow up the block. It's like, now I was going to spend 90 minutes on this. I'm 15 minutes in. The assistant comes in with, a problem with client X, Y, or Z, which can be addressed perhaps in 10 minutes or so, or who knows, right? Or maybe it even can be pushed off. But what are your thoughts on this sort of thing, then?
Yeah, I mean, look, it happens, right? An A plus client can call out of the blue and with some emergency, and yes, you're going to drop everything. But more often than not, these are things that you can mostly control. And so I am a slave to my calendar. Okay. And I then am very proactive with how we again time block in our calendar. And so that's what I would tell you is it's not this willy-nilly thing. If you look at our calendar, every Monday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. is our weekly team meeting. And that is sacrosanct. Okay. So short of you being the A plus client calling during that time with a death in the family, you're not going to get through to me. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Monday morning, weekly team meeting, and everybody knows it. Okay. And so part of it is putting things in the calendar and then respecting that, right? Respecting those things. And then, yes, that A plus client calls with a death in the family, sure, you make an exception. But for the most part, if you've got that weekly team meeting from 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning, Tuesday morning is we have our weekly investment committee meeting, right? So if you get those things in the calendar, and then what you'll see is people on your team will try to disrespect what's in the calendar because they don't have the discipline, right? So it'll be like, oh, I have to make this phone call. Oh, I need to be late. Can we move that? And I'm like, no, we can't. It's got to be done the same time every week so that people can then essentially program themselves that 9 to 10 a.m. is weekly team, and that's what we're doing. And so a lot of it requires some sort of discipline and structure in the calendar and how you approach your day and your week.
Can you talk just for a minute, give people a sense of, advisors have different approaches to, maybe at a, 10,000 foot level looking down on your calendar, they have certain approaches. Like I know one advisor who totally blocks Fridays to work from home and he mostly reads. He sets aside the day as a reading day.
Mm-hmm.
But can you give people a sense of, roughly what sort of, okay, you've mentioned you have two hard and fast meetings. You got the client meeting, you got the investment meeting. Do you have other hard and fast rules about when you're meeting with clients, like only Tuesdays and Thursdays, or only
Yeah, we do. We do.
or how do you do that? How do you do that?
The only thing that's kept me sane all these years, right? So, Mondays and Fridays are essentially like internal meeting and housekeeping days, is what we call them. And so Monday is a big internal meeting day at the office. So it's weekly team in the morning. I actually made a reference to WIM, that's our investment committee meeting on Tuesday, but honestly, that's moved to Monday. So we've got that. I've got a technology review meeting on Monday. And then I meet internally with our head of operations also on Monday. And so Monday is a big internal meeting day and also gearing up for the rest of the week and the appointments that are coming, because there's nothing more stressful to me than looking at my calendar and seeing a Monday morning 10 a.m. appointment with Susie Smith. And then all weekend, I'm stressed out about that meeting. Do we need to update the investment returns? Because Friday was a really strong close, but those returns don't get posted till 10 a.m. on Monday and she's coming at 10:30. Who needs that? I mean, life is too short, right? So we do not do client meetings on Monday, again, unless it is absolutely, like can't be another day. So Monday and Friday are no client meetings, Monday and Friday, unless I have to make an exception. And literally, I am the one that has to make that exception. Nobody else can make that exception. Tuesday through Thursday are client meetings. Monday are internal meetings all day, basically, and getting ready for the week ahead. And then right now we're in a hybrid situation. We went back hybrid in September, and Monday through Wednesday, the entire team is in. And then Thursday and Friday, we have a rotating schedule of who's remote and who's in the office, so that we always have people in the office to answer the calls and to just physically have a presence. So today and tomorrow, I am remote, which is why you see me working from home and you hear my dog barking. So this is my week.
So, but returning to our topic about, motivation and getting things done and trying to overcome challenges that prevent people from getting things done. So you just ticked off four, I think it was 4 meetings you have on a Monday, which makes sense, of course. But what are you doing? How are you running those meetings in terms of being sure? How do you wrap them up in terms of, people have marching orders. How specific is it? How do you incorporate the last week's meeting into this week's agenda? Anything you can offer along those lines?
Yeah. So again, I am a stickler for structure. every single meeting has to have an agenda, even my internal meetings. So they all have agendas. And basically, there is a structure to the agenda. So every week there are certain recurring items. And then if there are new items that need to go on, then they will go on to the agenda. So as things come up during the week, like operation questions, I will then email Trevor and I'll say, add it to the Monday morning meeting agenda. So there's certain things that we review no matter what. Those are standing items, but then new things that come up get added to that agenda so that we're not hopping in between client appointments and dealing with these operational issues that could perhaps wait until the Monday meeting. And so every internal meeting has an agenda, and then we review what are the open items, and those are on the bottom of the agenda, like old business, so that we're reviewing open items that need to get resolved or that we're having challenges with. And then it just sort of continues from the week to the next week to the next week.
Right. Good. So, how do you play off the competing challenges of progress, pursuing, completing, initiatives against the constant demand of improving your client service? How do you handle those two?
I mean, a lot of them go hand in hand because a lot of the projects are to improve client service. So we see that as part of the ultimate enhancement of the firm. But basically what happens is at the weekly team meeting on Monday. Oh, and one of the other meetings I forgot to mention is we do a daily huddle. So I do want to mention that because before we went into lockdown, we would do sort of these informal, organic, like morning check-ins. We always had the Monday weekly team meeting. I mean, that's been going on for 20 years. But we would do like sort of this informal morning huddle. When we went into lockdown, we realized, holy cow, we need to formalize a lot of these things because we're not, able to yell out, hey, come on in, let's talk about whatever. And so we actually have a morning huddle the other 4 days of the week that starts at 8:45 and goes to about 9 o'clock or 9:15. And by the way, that also has an agenda. Even a 15-minute morning huddle has an agenda of the items we cover every single morning. And then depending on the day of the week, there are other items on the agenda depending on the day of the week. So like Tuesday and Thursday, we'll review the prospect pipeline, for example. But anyway, back to what we're saying is, I don't see these things in conflict, right? Excellent client service and projects, right? I see them as part of sort of our broad service offerings. But having said that, at times they do run in conflict because you're like, hey, there's only so many hours in a day. So what happens is in our Monday weekly team meeting, we address all of the open projects in that Monday weekly team meeting and, what's getting shelved, what we're getting delays on, what's top priority. And I'm the one sitting there commenting on that because the team may not know that something is critically important or time sensitive because they might not have the perspective that I have. And so they might be doing some foot dragging or prioritize other things. And I'll be like, no, absolutely not. We have got to address QCDs right now because it's Q1 and those have got to, that's got to happen, just as an example.
Right. So as you've built out your team over the years, this is obviously a lot of structure and very heavily meeting oriented, at least at the beginning of the week.
Yes, at the beginning of the week.
But has there been a struggle? Have you had some people on your team, new on your team, who cotton to this, as they say in the South, versus others who like maybe are struggling with it? So much structure, too much structure, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what cotton to this means, but everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Okay, it is a struggle. Okay, when you join Taylor Financial Group, it's a whole new world for you. Okay, and people then have a choice. You either fall in line or this is not a good fit for you. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is what the clients need. And so early on, there is a boot camp. I literally call it boot camp to them. Okay. I'm very transparent about it. And the first, I would say 90 to 120 days, the first 3 to 4 months, there's some tension. There's a little bit of a battle. There's a little bit of resistance. And I make it very clear, there's only one way this is going to go, and it's going to go my way. And we take it from there.
Yeah.
Sean's like, hey, I'd never want to work at Taylor Financial Group.
No, I could use it horse's mouth now. Come see me if you're looking for a new job there. Well, what would you recommend if there's an advisor who's listening to this and thinking, yeah, I want to move in this direction, um, uh, and they're looking to improve their team's motivation, because it's like how to motivate your team. So you're saying you're kind of motivating them while you've set this structure for them that they have to operate within effectively. I know you mentioned this a little bit last week, but I think it's worth coming back to about the fact that you pay bonuses to your team on a quarterly basis. I thought that was really interesting. And in fact, have you written an article on that?
I feel like we did. We
You
did.
might have. Okay.
At the end of the first quarter, we did. I got to check to see if it was published or not, but we wrote.
Oh, okay. I just think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it's good. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So basically, you hear me talking about carrot and stick. Carrot and stick. And I'm a big believer in carrot and stick. Okay. So stick is like, look, this is just the way we roll here. And I make it very clear to the team. I am very passionate about client service. These clients entrust their entire life savings to me. I take that responsibility very seriously. And if you think I'm going to compromise my standards for you, that ain't going to happen. And I am crystal clear on it. Now, it's interesting, just as an aside, Sean, I'm going to talk about the bonus, but I'm talking about the stick right now. What is interesting is the younger generation, for all the issues that we have with the younger generation, they totally buy into it because it's a mission and they love mission-based work. So it's actually funny because the younger generation wants to fight it. It's structure. It's honestly more work than they've ever had in their life. It's more thinking. It's more accountability. But then there's a mission behind it. And the mission is we love our clients. We take care of our clients. And so then they end up buying into it because they buy into the mission, which is sort of ironic, actually, that part of it works. Okay, that's the stick part. We also have a list of firm absolutes, just as an aside, because again, people think that these are negotiable items. I'm not a big negotiator. So we actually have a one-page list of firm absolutes that they get as part of their training. And we review it once a month just to make sure that there's no backsliding. Okay, that's the stick. Let's talk about the carrot. Okay, so the carrot, we do quarterly bonuses. And it's quantitative and qualitative so that we are all rowing together. It is a pain. I'm going to be the first to tell you, it's a total pain to do. I actually handed it off to my operations guy because I got so sick of doing it, right? But you know something? It helps to motivate the team, because then every Monday morning at our weekly team meeting, we go through revenue closed, AUM, what's in the pipeline, and everybody's rowing together because they know 30, 60, 90 days from now, their bonus is going to be based on the fact that we pulled this business in and we closed it before the quarter ended, or whatever. Also, client retention is part of it as well. So the quarterly bonus is actually a big part of sort of elevating the morale and elevating the team.
And so is it, yes, there's a bonus this month and this quarter, and no, there's not? Or is it the bonus is, X thousand, but it could have been, X thousand higher or 100 higher? Just curious about that.
Yeah. So we basically, it adds up to 100%, and 60% of it is quantitative and 40% of it is qualitative. So the 60% that's quantitative is really based on revenue and AUM. And it's, again, very revenue quantitative based, black and white. The 40% are individual goals that we create with you as part of our SMART goals. And so you're driving that's more qualitative, the 60-40. Okay. And then part of that is the bonus pool. And the bonus pool is typically about $15,000 a quarter. That's based off of our overall revenue for the quarter. And so we're saying, okay, our typical revenue for the quarter is, I don't know, $400,000. We're going to take 3% of that. That's 12,000, 15,000, whatever. And that is what gets allocated then to the team as part of the bonuses.
Right. And is that allocated equally across the board based on the whole company, or you're making qualitative judgments there and you've passed that off to your operations manager? I mean, I love it. I love it on one level. But I also wonder, well, how does it go down with the staff? Because everybody knows their court, are there issues about, well, my quarterly bonus stunk this year. My quarterly bonus was great, or,
yeah, you're right.
Any issues like that?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, there are people on your team that are never going to be happy. I mean, that's just the reality, right? That's the reality of managing a team. And then there are people on your team that if you give them 50 cents, they're thrilled, right? That's just the reality of it. That's just part of managing a team and growing a practice, is sort of just living with the fact that some people are never going to be happy with how much you give them. What
Right.
can I say about that?
Right.
That's where, though, having being very transparent with how these goals are structured, because in the past you'd say, oh, we just give some spot bonuses, or at the end of the year we just give out Christmas bonuses, and it's just, oh, here's $5,000. And all the practice manager experts are like, do not do that, right? That sort of year-end Christmas bonus concept, do not do that, because there's no measuring it, there's no accountability, you're not really giving anybody anything to work towards, right? It's just some random amount that ends up in their pocket, and they don't really even know why it's there. And so this is where it's very transparent. When it's based on revenue, it's based on AUM, it's based on client retention. You can't quarrel with me on that. These are the numbers. And if we had worked better, closed more business, got luckier, then your bonus would be bigger. And so really the only part you can quarrel with is that 40%. And that's why I'm so clear about SMART goals. Because again, I don't want, Sean needs to improve his haircut, and you say you did a great job on it. I say you didn't. Now we get in a fight. So that's where I am a total stickler about SMART goals. And we will go back and forth several times to make sure that it is, very measurable, the SMART goals.
Right. Can you take off the SMART acronym for us?
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. And the T is, I think, something with time.
Time measured or something like that, I think.
Right. But to me, the big part, and then sometimes I call them SMAT goals too. But the big part to me, if you notice, the SMA never changes, is specific, measurable, and achievable. The big thing is the M for measurable and the S for specific. Those are the two big things.
Right. Good. Doug Pierce, how are we doing out there in Streamland in terms of questions before I move on?
Yeah, well, we did have somebody on LinkedIn say talking about the quarterly bonuses, that's a very great strategy to grow your business and at the same time keep your employees motivated. So
yeah,
more of a comment than a question.
Sure, right.
I think particularly for this younger generation, and every day we're reading in the journal that there's no such thing as cheap labor anymore. Okay. These folks can make $50,000 a year sitting home, literally. And so I think it's a great way to keep people motivated and keep people engaged. And, one of the things is it's a very profitable business. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. And so when the team sees you making all this money and seeing a lot of it dropping to the bottom line and going into your pocket, they could perhaps resent that. So this is a way to say, hey, we close business, everybody's winning together.
Yeah. Good. So you mentioned that you have a boot camp, and why don't you just tell us, your boot camp is just the first 90 days or so is what you're saying. You're really putting a lot of pressure. But during that period of time, how are you inculcating your firm's culture and your values? Obviously you're demonstrating them through your actions, but are there any other particular things you do with your staff to get them up to speed on this sort of thing?
Yeah, so we do have a training program so that your first week, we do have a training agenda for you. And so that's part of it. I do also now have an HR consultant, and they will also talk to the team members and help share some of the firm culture with them. We also do personality tests in advance, and that helps us to make sure that we're aligned and help me to sort of talk with them about what their personality test revealed and how they will then fit into the firm. And so I do like having an HR consultant, sort of like an outsider who can help sort of telegraph these things without it coming necessarily directly from me. It's nice to have a third party that's sort of independent. And so we do that. Also, we have 6 most at the end of every day. I know that's been talked about quite a bit, but we're huge believers in 6 most. And then even the daily huddles and the weekly team meeting, that is also a way that we're conveying the firm culture indirectly and sometimes directly, where I'll just say, very directly to the team member when we're in a daily huddle, hey, and by the way, other firms might do such and such. We don't do that here. Clients come first. And so it's a lot of that.
Right. Can you talk a little bit more about the HR consultant thing? Because I can see how that actually could be very valuable. Small firms,
I know.
obviously, don't have the size or the revenues to have a full-time HR person. And so as a consequence, that sort of thing often falls to the leader of the firm, the advisor. And it could be, I can imagine it being a huge time suck, not to mention, energy drain and other things. So I'm curious to know, so you bring this HR consultant, tell us about how you engage an HR consultant, like you're ready to fill a position, you go out to this person who you've used over the years, or just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for most of us, let's be honest about it. Nobody trained us to manage teams and hire and talent development, right? If you gave me a choice and said, Debbie, you can go to a desert island for 100 days and you could either be with your 100 clients or your team members, which would you choose? I'd probably choose my clients. Okay. That's what I'm here for. Right. I mean, that's who I love. Right. That's what gets me up in the morning. And so it's a challenge, and you hit the nail on the head. Not only is it a time suck, but it can be very energy draining. Okay. And so what's happened is over the years, as the team grew, it was becoming honestly more and more challenging for me. I was losing patience, to be completely honest with you, particularly since we have a younger team. Some folks are younger, and it's sad because you can have one or two bad apples that spoil it for the others, right? Anyway, so I stumbled upon an HR consultant that I ended up retaining, and it's been a great help. Also, Teresa does this as well. And I've actually used Teresa as well to help us. And so it's very nice because the HR consultant has come in to help with a few things. So first, for example, I had a team member that needed help with his interpersonal skills. He would do things that would come off as really like sort of jerky, insensitive, and I'm just like, I'm at my wit's end. Okay. And so the HR consultant was coming in, having weekly chats with him, 45 minutes set up, and would go through the week. I would feed her instances of things that he would do that were just dumb. And she would then review it with him at the end of the week and talk to him and role play. And then we had him read the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so she coached him on that. And so she helps with that. She helped with interviewing. She helps with the personality assessments. And she helps, we had two admins in the office, and they were starting to get into this political battle. And so then I called her in, and she'd have weekly coaching calls with them to help with communications and things like that. Cause I'm just I'm done. I don't have time to call them in and have a high school gossip girl chat, So it was actually helpful. And then Teresa was helpful in helping us to hire this operations manager, which has basically saved my life. And so she was very helpful in reviewing resumes, the interviewing, the vetting out. It was a critical position, and I did not want to screw it up. And so she was really helpful with that as well.
Good. And that's Teresa Rico Buono. And she does offer a service helping advisors hire, was Debbie's mentioning. You can find her at simplyorganized.com, I believe, Teresa Rico Buono. So we have some other questions there. Somebody was asking, Debbie, can you just let us know, how big is your team and what are their positions and titles?
Yeah, so we're now 8 people, including myself. My husband works with us, and he has his MBA, and he basically leads the planning and the trading are his areas. He's a genius with numbers and the technology. And as you know, the technology has become such a huge issue in the business. Years ago, you didn't have all this technology. You had Excel and you thought you were clever. Now we have literally 10 or 12 different software programs that we use in the planning and investment management for clients. And so he's a big help with that. We did hire an operations manager, which has completely saved my life. Typically, you see the data shows that you would hire a COO or operations manager when you're about $150 million is what you see. And so we're close to about 200 million now. now, and we hired somebody to do that, and that's been fantastic. We have 2 junior guys. They are registered reps. They're customer service, junior wealth advisors. So we have 2 guys doing that, and then we have a financial planning assistant. And she has her MBA, and she's the one who does all the data input and helps with the plans. And then we have someone in charge of marketing. And then we have another admin. I don't call her marketing, by the way, because I think marketing's become a dirty word. So she is a communications specialist. She's
Right.
in charge of communications.
Good. And somebody else was asking about the breakdown of the meetings. I think maybe they wanted you to sort of slowly go through. What are the standing meetings you have in one week?
Yeah. So on Monday, like I said, we really push them all into Monday. So Monday is weekly team from 9 a.m. every morning for as long as I could remember. Then we do WIM in the afternoon. That's our investment committee meeting. I meet with my operations manager on Monday mornings. I also meet with my communications specialist to review any marketing initiatives for the week, client events, our weekly newsletter, whatever. And then I also have a technology meeting on Monday morning to 30 minutes to review any updates for technology, anything that we're vetting, new software we're looking at, new updates that have come out. I mean, it's just amazing how fluid all this is. So that's pretty much our meetings for Monday. Then we've got the morning huddle every morning. So that's Tuesday through Friday. And it's essentially a truncated weekly team meeting, right? From, that was an hour on Monday. And like I said, every day we pick out a few different topics that we're covering Tuesday and Thursday, Wednesday and Friday, whatever. So that's our daily huddle on Tuesday through Friday. Those are our meetings.
Good. All right. So, well, we guess we kind of end out with just a little more discussion about motivating employees. So obviously you have the bonus thing. What any other tactics that you
Sure.
roll out for
Yeah.
your team? Yeah. What else do you do?
Yeah. So, it's interesting because Kitseys did an article on this, I don't know, probably about 3 to 6 months ago. And there's been a number of other articles about the different ways to motivate people, right? Because it's not just about the bonuses. It's not just money. A lot of data shows you that. And so we basically looked at the article, and there were, 9 or 10 things in it that were like key motivators for the team. And basically, whenever I see articles like that, I literally give it to my head admin person, and I say, look at this, go through, figure out the things we're doing, and the things that we're not doing, tell me what we should be doing. And so, for example, then we celebrate anniversaries of when people started with us. So we had a 1-year anniversary earlier this week, and the tradition is cake and cards is what we call it. We get a cake from this unbelievable bakery that we have together, and then they bring the cake home to their family. So it's nice because then they can bring the cake and celebrate with their family. And then we play cards. There's this card game. It's like called Kill the President or something. And it's very aggressive. And then we order pizza in, and they get $100 Amex gift card and a card signed by everybody in the office. So we celebrate team members' anniversaries with us. They get 3 days PTO, comped PTO, to do charitable works, okay, of their choosing. So they get an extra 3 days off. And I've extended that to 5 days for certain team members who are really passionate about a certain project. I give them free gym memberships, and I help to compensate for their gym. We celebrate their birthdays. They also get a gift card and a cake for their birthday. And then there are a few other things, and now I'm trying to remember. Oh, we try to go out once or twice, once a month or so as a team. So for example, last week I was away in California. My operations manager took out the team for dinner and drinks, and TFG paid for all of it. So about once a month, we will either take the team out, or we'll pay for it if they're going out on their own and I can't make it. Those are some of the things.
Great. No, those are great ones. So, well, just to wrap up, we'll loop back because Jeremy on LinkedIn is asking us, for the standard team meeting, what does the agenda look like for your weekly Monday morning team meeting?
Yeah, just as an aside, real quick, as far as perks, one of
Mhm.
the other perks traditionally would be allowing people to work from home on certain days. Like
Mhm.
that's on the list. Now, we have a 3-2-2 schedule, which is Monday through Wednesday in the office, the entire team in the office. I do not allow people, unless it's exceptional situation, to choose those days. That does not make sense. The Harvard Business Review actually came out with an article on it a week or two ago saying, don't let them choose. And so it was always very clear to me, I want that team together. I don't want them all coming and going, right? It's too chaotic. So Monday through Wednesday, we're in the office. And then Thursday and Friday, we have the skeletal team. That does count as an employee benefit. And by the way, in yesterday's journal, they were mentioning that some employees are walking away from their jobs rather than have to come back to the office for 5 days a week. I mean, it is becoming contentious. And so anyway, that is a perk. And again, traditionally working from home, flexible work arrangements was considered a perk. That's essentially now becoming built in for a lot of employers
Yeah,
that want to retain their teams. I mean, that's
sure.
the truth of it. Okay, so back to the agenda. So the Monday morning weekly team meeting is a 1 hour agenda. And if you're really interested, feel free to email me or email the team and we'll get you the agenda. But basically we start off every meeting with wins and wows and people just sort of talk about what they did over the weekend, a little icebreaker. So we start off with that. We go through the calendar and then in the huddles every day, we also go through the calendar and we're looking ahead saying, okay, Sean's coming in for an appointment tomorrow. Doug's got an appointment on Wednesday. Here's the special prep we need for that. We need to update the plan. And so we go through the calendar. Debbie's going to be out on Wednesday afternoon. So go through the calendar. Then we talk about closed business and we are heavily relying on Salesforce. So anyone out there who's not using their contact management needs to be using it. Outlook does not count. So we go through our closed business year to date. We go through our pipeline and what we plan to be closing this month between now and the end of the month. And then we talk about new clients because we have a special onboarding process for new clients. So we review that. We review our prospect pipeline. So we literally have a spreadsheet of all of the prospects that are in the pipeline and what the status is and what the next steps are for those prospects. Then we have a lead spreadsheet and who those leads are and who we're trying to get in to have that phone call, that sort of engagement, where then they become a prospect. Exit clients. So if we've lost clients, we lose about one client a year. Then we have an exit client checklist, and we also do a post-mortem on it. And so we have an exit client checklist as well. We also then review net new assets, which is different than gross assets, right? So we'll then review net new assets, we'll review firm absolutes, and then at the end of the meeting, we review 2 Harvard Business Review blogs. And so Harvard Business Review into my inbox daily will send blogs, 4 or 5 different ones on different topics, practice management, communications, marketing, whatever. I choose ones and then we read 2 of them a week, which is very good development for the team. How to step away from your inbox, how to tell a client news that they don't want to hear, how to communicate with a teammate that's a jerk. And so the Harvard Business Review writes about all that stuff and it's great development for the team. That's
Right.
basically the agenda.
Right. Good. Okay, we got a question from Cliff K on YouTube, and he's asking Debbie, does your firm have a specialty or a niche that you use to attract prospects and clients? So Cliff hasn't been on any of our tax
I
webinars.
was just going to say, we got that one covered, right?
Give Cliff the lowdown.
I'll give you the 30 seconds and the 15 seconds. So look, I mean, I started out basically how all of you started out, for the most part. Okay. But what's happened is over the last couple of years, we believe that taxes and portfolio management is the way to go. And so we are teaching obviously that tax management, the tax practice workshop that's coming up in 2 weeks. Jeff Levine and I are doing that. This is our niche. I just got off the phone this morning with a $3 million prospect. And basically I just pitched tax management, retirement distribution. You're in a whole hell of a lot of trouble over there with $2 or $3 million in retirement plans. You need my help. And this guy was absolutely biting. And so this is our niche. This is what we're growing our business on. And it's been wildly successful.
Right. Good. So Cliff, the bottom line there is that the answer to that is the niche is taxes.
And join the webinar. Yeah.
And you can come to our 4-day training with Jeff Levine and Debbie Taylor. June 21st to the 24th, noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Thursday of that week for the Savvy Tax Planning School for Advisors. One of the most popular topics that we present on. And for those out there, as we wrap up, just to remind you that Debbie will be doing her practice management workshop, the New Normal Practice Management Workshop. And that will be in July from the 19th to the 22nd. This brings us to the close of our second live stream. We're going to be doing a series of these live streams leading up to Debbie's workshop in July. So thanks everybody for being there. And I think if you look below where you're watching right now, you can see links to get the other live streams on your calendar so that we can continue the conversation as we move through a variety of topics that Debbie covers in depth in her practice management workshop.
It's a lot of fun. It's very interactive.
Oh yeah, people love it. People love it. Very interactive. All right, Debbie, well, thanks so much. And everybody else, thanks for being on. I'll talk to you again down the road.
Thanks, everybody.